We hope you enjoy this episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast. But first, an important message for our listeners.
Embarking on a new chapter? Zach Nutzman of the Darwin Wall team at Realty One Group is your go-to real estate expert in Arizona, specializing in guiding couples and families through their real estate needs while experiencing a divorce. Modern Law's trusted partner, Zach, brings expertise, confidence, and compassion to your real estate journey. Let him help you navigate this challenging time. Zach Nutzman, your modern solution in real estate. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast. I'm your host, Billie Tarascio, joined by modern law attorney Ruby Becker. Ruby, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Another busy day.
Welcome to the show. Glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so these podcasts with our modern law attorneys are really so that potential clients can get to know you and your background, what types of clients you like. So first, what brought you to law?
I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and my parents will say I grew up arguing about everything. My older sister is an attorney too. So we're just a family of overachievers, I would say. But this was definitely what I wanted to do my entire life.
Okay, and where did you go to law school?
I went to law school at Western State College of Law in Orange County, California.
Wonderful. And what brought you to Arizona?
I grew up in Arizona. I am a Tucson native, born and raised in Tucson, and very new to Maricopa County. I've only been here since 2021. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And when did you become licensed?
I became licensed in 2018.
Okay. And what type of law have you been doing in addition to family law?
I've spent most of my time practicing juvenile law, both in Pima County and Maricopa County. I've also done criminal defense and estate planning.
Got it. Okay. So have you already been marked as our order protection guru?
I guess so.
Okay, good. Good. All right.
To be
Good.
taking all of those on.
It's really great to have a lawyer represent you in order protections who has done criminal and family, because it really is kind of a blend of both. How long did you practice criminal law?
I did that for about a year
Mhm.
before I got into juvenile law.
Okay. And tell people, what is juvenile law?
Juvenile law relates to when Arizona Department of Child Safety gets a report and they do an investigation. And if they end up removing or not removing your child, but legally taking custody of your child, they file a petition in the juvenile court for a dependency, which essentially means that they're telling the court that they need to have custody of the child and provide the parents with services to reunify with your child. And that usually occurs because of an allegation of abuse or neglect. And most of these situations have to do with substance abuse or domestic violence.
So you have a lot of experience with complicated, messy cases from the juvenile side.
That I do. And family law ties in a lot with juvenile law because a lot of these cases can be resolved with appropriate family court orders in place.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that those are your favorite types of cases?
My favorite types of cases are anything where I can help people get to a better place. That's really what I like to do as a lawyer, is just help people be heard in a very complicated system. Our judicial system is not easy to navigate. So if I can help people through that, that's really what I like to do, whether it is family law or juvenile law. But I definitely thrive in the environment where I get to fight for the little guy.
I love that. And I do feel like that's just kind of a calling. Like you're just kind of like wired that way. So you recently moved to, we'll call it the private sector.
Yes.
So what were you doing? So tell people the difference between the public sector that you were doing before and now the private sector.
Sure. So I was employed with first Pima County and then Maricopa County. I represented indigent individuals. So those who can't afford an attorney, don't have the income for an attorney. And so my caseload was usually 100 plus at a time. I've done over probably 250 trials. It's
Wow.
very fast paced. And it made me feel good to be able to represent people who really needed it most. And the huge difference is in family law, you're not appointed an attorney. And if you can't afford one, it's incredibly difficult to navigate the court system through family law. So that's been a really big adjustment for me, is wanting to help everybody and feeling very disappointed that the court doesn't give people attorneys who can't afford them. And I think that's somewhere where we're lacking in our court system, is that you have law, which is such a complicated thing that we all have to go to school for a very long time and pass a very difficult test to even be licensed to practice. But we're asking people who have no idea what any of this means to go it on their own if they can't afford an attorney.
Yeah, it's awful. And most people in family court don't have attorneys and they have to figure it out on their own. So it is, difficult. At least in juvenile court, everyone is given an attorney because they're taking away your children. But that happens in family court too.
Right. And that's the issue, is that it really is one of those fundamental rights of the Constitution to have the care, custody, and control of your child. And the family court can take that away from the parent, and to not grant somebody the right to have counsel when they're facing that issue, I think is a real problem that we have in the family court system.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Oh, I don't either.
Do you miss being in public service?
Um, yes and no. I like that it's a little less fast paced. You burn out quickly being in public service just because it's a lot. Um, but I miss being able to help those who really need it. That is a part of me that struggles, I think, still with being in private sector, is just wanting to help everybody all the time, even if they can't pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's real. What do you like to do for fun?
I have a very large family. So my fun consists of just being able to spend time with my kids. And I'm one of 5 children myself. So I have 10 nieces and nephews. And so anytime I get to spend with family, that's what I like to do. I like to spend my time outside too. I spend way too much time indoors in courtrooms, in offices. So I like to enjoy the sun.
And so is all of your family local?
No, my parents own a farm in Wilcox, Arizona. They have a pecan farm there.
Wow.
And my brother and my youngest sister live in Arizona too. But my older sister, the other attorney in the family, she lives in Colorado.
Okay.
And I have another sister who lives in California. So we're all West Coast. We're not
Yeah.
too spread out.
What type of law does your sister practice? Just curious.
She spent 15 plus years as a criminal defense public defender, but she's been in private practice for probably close to a decade now, and she still does criminal defense, but she also does family law and personal injury. So kind of a mix of things now.
Great. So you spend a lot of time all over the state. Wilcox has really good wine, right?
They do. And my parents' farm is right next to the all of the vineyards out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been down there to do like wine tasting, but is it worth it?
It's definitely worth it. They have very good wine there.
Nice. And it's closer than Sonoma County and much probably less expensive.
That is definitely true.
Awesome. Okay, so can you talk to people about some differences that you see between what happens in juvenile court in terms of how the court system works versus family court?
Sure. So in juvenile court, what is paramount to the court is the best interest of the child. The major difference that I see is that in juvenile court, the child has an attorney. The child is allowed at every hearing. The child is allowed to speak at every hearing, talk directly to the judge and be heard. And I see that major difference in family court. You have to file motions for the child to talk to the judge. You have to file motions for the child to have an attorney appointed for them. When these family cases, they're really the ones that involve children, of course. They are about the children, and they really do need to be heard more than they are. The major difference, of course, in family court is that the court thinks there's an age of maturity where the child can decide things. In juvenile court, as long as the child is verbal, they can tell you what they want, and you represent what they want, their position. So I did have a time where I was representing children too. If a kid was 5 and they were telling me, I want to be with mom, that is what I went to court to say. And I would like to see that more in family court, that the family court judges are considering what the child's desires are a little more than they do right now.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there is pending legislation that we should talk about. The pending legislation would give children 14 and over who are suitably mature the presumptive right to decide which parent to live with.
Yeah, I think that's great.
You love it.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so most family law attorneys don't like it. So we should talk through that. Like, the reason that I think most family law attorneys don't like it is because of the potential loyalty binds that happen with children. So in family court, you've got, parents who sometimes pit children against one another and really vie for a child's to be the winning parent. And so in juvenile court, the question is, right, do I live with my parents or do I live in a foster home?
Right.
It's a little bit, you're not going to have the same loyalty bind. So talk to me about your position on that.
So I think it's great because I do think that at the age of 14, I think that's a perfect age. Now, if you're talking about 8, I think there is that concern that you're talking about, that there is that loyalty binding there that, with one parent who's maybe had a little more influence over the child. I have a 13, almost 14-year-old myself. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter how much time she spends with me. If she's upset with me, she's going to want to go with dad. That's a position there she's at. She's of the age of maturity where she really can say, I think this is what's best for me, not because one parent is influencing me or not. They have so much going on outside of the home that influences them even more than parents do at this point, that I do think that's a great age for them to be able to say, I think this is what's good for me right now. And given the steps that are taken in family court where things can be modified a year later, maybe that child spends a year with that parent and decides, no, that's probably not what was best for me at that time. But we should at least have them have a say in their lives.
Right. Hey there, co-parents. It's Billie Tarascio with Modern Law, and let me tell you about our Family Wizard, our preferred co-parenting app. It's a game changer. I use it myself. With features like documented calls, secured messaging, shared calendars, and more, our Family Wizard makes co-parenting smoother than ever. Trust me, I've seen the difference that it can make. Join the over 1 million parents and family law professionals who trust our Family Wizard to make co-parenting easier. Ready to take some stress out of co-parenting? Head to ourfamilywizard.com/modern law. Yeah, I really appreciate your perspective because it is so different than what the family court bar and bench want. So the family court bar and bench are really lobbying against this bill. I also have teenagers, and they don't want us to just tell them what decision to make, or whether or not they're right or wrong. Like, their thoughts matter. They are working on becoming an adult. So I love the fact that you give so much respect and deference. And it also sounds like you're a divorced mom.
I am, yes.
How long have you been divorced?
Since 2018.
Okay, so you've been navigating a co-parenting relationship with a daughter. How do you think that has impacted your practice now?
I have an amazing relationship with her dad, and that's been an incredible blessing. I have no problem with him just having all the time that he wants with her. We don't have any formal arrangements because we trust each other. I mean, our marriage didn't end ugly, and thank God for that, because I see that every day, and I certainly wouldn't want to be in that position. The most important thing to us always is her and how she's doing, and us getting he comes to her volleyball games, sits right next to me. He'll come over to our house for my new husband and for her birthday parties. So it's important for us to show a united front and friendship to her because she's what's important. And I've brought that into practice and really trying to impress that upon clients, is that remember your kid is what's the most important thing. Of course, there are hurt feelings, but your kid is what matters in this situation. So whether you can be not everybody can be friends with their ex. I fully realize that, but you can get along, because you have to keep in mind that you have until the child turns 18 to be making these decisions together and make sure that they're being brought up in a healthy way. I think children are so affected by divorce and not having their two parents in a home together. And I'm not going to lie, my daughter still struggles with it, but I think that it's easier for her that we do get along, that it's not fighting about things. Because I see the difference. I have a stepson in my home now with my new husband, and my husband and his ex, they don't get along. They've been through custody battles for the last 4 years, at least once a year going to court.
Wow.
And I see what a difference in the mental state of one child compared to the other when parents get along, how that differs. It really does affect your child when your parents can't get along with each other.
So you have a lot of personal experience you're bringing to the table. You have done the blended family thing, you've done the divorce thing, you've done the stepmom thing.
Yes,
Stepmom is like the most impossible role, right?
absolutely impossible, especially if mom hates your guts.
Yes. Okay. So what tips do you have for stepmoms?
Stay out of it. That is my tip. Yeah, I love my stepson so much, and I love being able to be part of that daily parenting, but all the discipline is left to my husband. I don't do any of the disciplining. That is not my role. My advice also is attempt to build a relationship with mom. I think if you're able to do that, if mom is somebody who you're able to build a friendship with, that's what's best for the kid too. You guys can all parent the child together and just love the kid. And that's what kids really need most as a step parent. Just love them, be their friend, hear them out.
That's such good advice. And I feel like it's so hard to put into practice. Um, I hear stepmoms really struggle with this concept of staying out of it, not disciplining. And most of the time what they're saying is, but I'm the one who's at home. Um, what is your tips for them?
You just have to deal with it. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm the one who is helping with homework. I'm doing the parent stuff, but you have to know, and especially if you have your own kids, like you don't want somebody else doing the disciplining part. So I think it's trying to put yourself in the other parent's shoes, help, and just realize that later in life, that kid is going to know that you had a very important role in their upbringing. It just makes it easier for your spouse too, if you don't take that disciplinarian role and just kind of stay out of that conflict. It makes that co-parenting for them easier.
Mm-hmm. So you've been a mom the whole time you've been a practicing attorney.
Yes, I was a mom going to law school.
You were a
My
mom going to.
daughter was 3 when I went to law school. I used to read her my evidence books to put her to sleep.
Did you really?
I did. So I've created a little monster by going through law school being a parent. She's definitely the next generation of Becker attorneys. So watch out, Arizona, because she's already working on it.
Wonderful. So driven, ambitious, sounds like a very well-rounded young 13-year-old.
She is. She's I wish social media never existed.
Mm,
Then she'd
mhm,
be even better, but she is a
mhm,
wonderful kid, and
mhm.
I love her very much. She's very bright.
Yeah. I want to ask, do you not have any type of parenting plan with your ex?
No, I
No
don't.
parenting plan. And you've never had one, and you've never needed one.
I've never needed one. I don't ask for I'm the primary parent. He lives in Tucson, so my
Mhm.
daughter is with me pretty much all the time. If he wants to come up and see her, if he wants her to come there, I have no problem. Whatever he wants to do is fine with me. Whatever holidays he wants to take is fine with me. We're different religions, so
Mhm.
he gets all of the Christian holidays, and I take
Mhm.
all of the Jewish holidays, and
Mhm.
it's kind of easier that way to not worry about splitting those. And I don't ask for child support. I make plenty of money to take care of her, so I don't worry about that. It's not my concern. If he sends her money all the time
Sure.
though, that's fine with me.
That's great.
Go ahead.
Because I
I'm
have
in a
teenagers and they ask for a lot of money.
yes, mine does too. Probably $10-15 a day I get the Apple Cash requests
Oh
for.
yeah, that's more than mine ask. But I have my teens are boys. My daughter is not a teen yet, and I have a feeling that that's going to be a little different.
Oh, the makeup gets really
That
expensive.
makes sense. Makeup is expensive. It's the pink tax. It starts early.
Yes, it definitely does.
So you have managed to navigate this co-parenting relationship without any agreements. It's really unusual. Is that something that you'd recommend to people?
I it depends.
Hmm.
I'm really lucky in my situation where my ex-husband and I are friends. If
Hmm.
you have a relationship with like that, I just don't think that you need a third parent called the court to be
Hmm.
involved if you can parent without that. Now, if you have a situation like my current husband, you need to have those court orders in place.
Yeah. Human beings, very complicated.
And
Very,
I
very
think people
complicated.
know what kind of person their ex is.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You know your ex. You know your ex really well. So, let's see. What else do you think clients or potential clients should know about you?
Um, I love litigating. I spent so much of my life in a courtroom daily in a courtroom for the past 6 years that I am really happy to take on the cases that need somebody to fight fiercely on them. I'm not somebody who you can roll over on. I am a loud voice in a courtroom, and I make sure that things are good for my clients. Now, can I promise that you're always going to get everything that you want? No, no attorney can make that promise. And we really can't make those promises with the variations in judges you get and decisions they make. So
Right.
sometimes it depends on how good of a day the judge is having too. But I'm a fighter, and I
Mhm.
have always been. And like I said previously, I grew up wanting to fight for the little guy. Being a lawyer, I didn't go to law school to be a lawyer who made a bunch of money. I went to law school to be a lawyer who actually made a difference in people's lives. And so that's the important thing to know about me is I really fight hard for my clients because I think it's important for you to be heard and be seen and know that you have somebody in your corner for these processes that are really difficult to navigate through. And they're high with emotion too. And I'm an incredibly empathetic person, but I will keep you in line too, to remember that the law is what is paramount, and emotions can flare, but the law is what's important. And your kids, especially your kids, are important.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Ruby. I have enjoyed it. I know that other people are going to enjoy it as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Billie.
Thanks so much for listening to the Modern Divorce Podcast. Remember, anything you've heard today or anything you read online is not the replacement for actual consultation with an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Even if you called in and we spoke to you, you are anonymous and we don't have your details and you have not become a client of Modern Law. However, we would love to speak with you, or you should seek out the advice of legal counsel or counseling or any other expert near you. And if you have an idea for a show topic or you need to speak with an attorney in Arizona, you can reach me at info@mymodernlaw.com.